All right.
My name is Damon.
5, 4, 3, 2,
You know it's already 4.
1.
Good afternoon and welcome to this YouTube channel where we're going to talk about children. My name is Damon Wamara and I'm joined by also the lovely
Maureen Orogot.
and we're just going to talk about children. We just want to have a laid-back conversation about children, and we're going to be discussing much on the well-being of children and the children safe. And I think the first conversation we'll have is around these videos that are going viral, the whole beating up and battering of children and all that. What are your thoughts about those videos?
They are disheartening. They are scary and painful. Looking at children being battered by their own parents, by neighbors,
Yeah.
and also the fact that the community responsibility is not there. The extent that people are able to sit and take a video of a child being battered and not respond immediately to protect the child
Yeah.
is really disheartening.
Yeah, but the last video they were saying that the community did try to reach out, but when the mother was not listening to them, then that's when the person got the phone and started recording as a form of evidence. But I could see when you were saying it was disheartening and annoying, I could see how you were practically saying, you are saying it with this disgust of disheartening and all that. And as a mother, then people are going to tell you, I also was brought up being battered and being beaten. So what would you say about that?
I think there's a difference between discipline and punishment.
Yeah.
And I think that is where very many people get it wrong. There's an importance of people understanding what discipline is and how you should discipline a child. And there's also a difference in punishing. Do not beat up a child to an extent that they are disabled or they are unable to.
But we were brought up like that. We were all beaten, we were all battered, and we survived. We didn't die. So, I mean, that's the conversation people have, and that's the excuse they have as to why children should be developed. I mean, be treated like that. And you continue to see even the videos that show the children, mothers throwing. And what's disturbing for me is that you mainly find it as the mothers, those who should be loving the children, are the ones who seemingly inflicting the heaviest pain. Is it that spare the rod and spoil the child?
The Bible verse will spare the rod and spoil the child. We all interpret it in different ways.
Yeah.
Some will say the rod is a stick. But I think for me it is, the rod is how do you direct a child? How do you get them into the right direction?
Yeah.
As a parent. So I think for me that's the important thing. As a parent, learn how to discuss, talk to your children, find a way of disciplining them in a more positive way.
Yeah.
But also when you talked about the fact that we're all battered, we're all beaten, when we're growing up. When you look back, you'll always have those stories and think about, I was really beaten, why? Why can't I do it differently for my child?
Mm-hmm.
And why can't I bring them up in a different way?
Yeah.
And they're still growing up in a different way. So
Yeah, but let's just look deeper into the videos and into everything. And what exactly do these videos end up portraying about the kind of community, the kind of society we're living in?
I think when I look at it, I look at a violent society.
Yeah.
I look at a society that is also, should I call it unhappy?
Yeah.
Looking at the economy, looking at, we've been in COVID-19 for the last 2 years. A lot has happened. People are, the mental, the mental state is not where it should be, basically. So everyone is struggling.
Yeah.
In their own kind of capacity. The children are struggling, the parents are struggling, and everyone is trying to get to a situation, to get to a place where they are comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
but it is a journey, and it's a struggle at the same time.
And as you talk about the mental state and the whole idea of the adoption post-COVID and on all those situations, the community failing to be able to respond accordingly, the families, the last video that we saw going viral, when the mother was apprehended, the mother confessed and said that, look, I had gone through a lot, I had gone through gender-based violence, I had gone through domestic violence, which poses the question, how much damage does domestic violence do on the well-being of a child?
A lot. They always say it's a vicious cycle. Once battered, watching your parents being, battered, or watching your mom being battered, or your father being battered, it always affects a child mentally.
Yeah.
And at times they'll look at it as the new norm. If I don't batter, then I'm not worthy of something. So basically, for me, I feel like a child is affected mentally, but also affected physically and emotionally. Because when a mom is being battered or a father is being battered, I always say both are being battered in one or the other. The child will always come in to protect the person that is being battered, and in the long run be hit. So physically, they can easily be affected. But also emotionally, the constant quarrels, the constant fights affect a child. They feel like they're not loved within that community or in that home. They're not safe. Every time maybe it clocks to 6 or 7, they're in hiding, because they know something is going to happen. But also mentally, if I've spent the whole night watching my parents fight as a child and I'm going to school, I'm not mentally stable to be able to sit and even concentrate in class. I'm not mentally stable to play with my friends because I'm worried and I'm thinking, going back home, what is going to happen next?
You end up dreading going home because what will be at home is what you don't want to see at all. And the whole idea of the fact that even the children have to choose sides. They're forced to choose sides, whether they're taking mommy's side or daddy's side, or who is correct, and they begin to choose who the best person is, ends up tearing the family apart. And also the fact that if the mother is beaten and the mother's been beaten all this time, then they're going to end their stress on their child, and which is what we saw in many of the videos of the mothers beating up their children. They were not beating their children, they were beating their husbands that were in their children. So it's just like you said, it's also a cycle that at the end you'll find that when this young boy grows up to being a man and marries, he knows that the best way to show love to his wife is by beating her up. That is a new expression of love. That is how you're taught to love the spouse, the mother, and
But I think it also affects the children socially. They don't know how to socialize. The best way to socialize or to play with your friends is to beat them. Get that aggression. Get aggressive.
I love you. Here is one for you.
So it's painful what our children are going through, but also one of the things I think about is what can we do as a community? What can we do to change that whole cycle of what is happening at the moment?
Before we go to what can we do, maybe we can discuss what we have seen from our engagements in the work that we do. We can share what we have seen have been results of this kind of battering and this kind of domestic violence. What then would happen to this child? You've said one of them, concentration at school would be low. There's a poor relationship with, they fail to relate with their colleagues and their age mates. What other things do we end up seeing manifest as a result of the kind of situations that we're seeing that depict the picture of what we are seeing, the fruits, if I may say? Death.
In the process of parents exchanging, the little one can easily be hit, and that would be it. We've had children run away from home because they can't stand the conflict in the home. We've had
on that one of the children running away from home, Africa did a study with the children living and working on the streets, and they found out that majority of those children who are on the streets, specifically the boys who were on the streets, were on the streets as a result of domestic violence at home, physical violence that was at home, and they felt unsafe at home. I remember one time when I was at Naguru Rehabilitation Center, and when I was there, one of the boys said that I saw my mother being killed by my father, and I had to run away from home. And when he was asked, "Can we take you back to your community?" I said, "Which community? The one that killed my mother? I can't go back there. I would rather stay on the streets." And you have people stuck on the streets, and that's what they have faced. They have seen violence, they've seen death, and they end up finding the streets safer.
Yeah, and that is painful, because
very painful.
Because by the time a child says, "Which community should I go to?" We expect our communities to be safe for our children. We expect them to be able to protect our children and keep them, if this family is having a conflict, how do the community leaders come in? How do they support this family? How do they work with the children within the family? How do the schools come in to protect the children? So we have the different institutions around the family and the child, but how do they come in to work together for the benefit and for the good of the child?
So how should we respond as we close this conversation, this short conversation? How should we respond as CSO's child rights actors, but also the community, the government? How should we respond?
One is engage the community, sensitize them, put up support systems within the community where, in case there's any kind of domestic violence, they can run to. If there's any battering, they can run to. Teach them who are the right stakeholders to work with. And as civil society, we need to come together as a team and work around violence against children. Let's not work in silos. Let's work as a team. And together as a team, we can be able to protect the child.
It's our problem, it's our solution, it's our way forward. Thank you for joining us for this chat. Maureen Orogot has been our guest this afternoon, and we want to keep on having these conversations over and over about the well-being of the child in Uganda and also in Africa at wide. Joining us is you online, but go ahead and comment in the chat box and let us know what topic you'd want us to discuss about the well-being of the child and the good of the African child. Thank you very much, and cheers. Thanks for coming in.